Before I actually start this video, I wanted to actually talk about a few things for once. One, if you feel like supporting me, I do have a Patreon. It is for the Steam-Powered Scoundrels podcast. I'll put a link to it anyways. But if you feel like supporting this aspect of Steam-Powered Scoundrels, Artefactors Union, go and donate. I'd appreciate it, but you obviously don't need to. I'm still going to keep doing these. Also, I've got a tournament coming up in June, the end of June. It is called Good Things Happen. It is a charity tournament. We are raising money for a couple children's cancer charities. Went really well last year, hoping to do a really great job this year. There's a bunch of fun events, and we'll have some raffles for some pretty painted minis. But I will post a link to the Ko-fi, which allows you to donate and or register for the event, as well as I'll probably do the Facebook event too. But let's get started with this nightmare. Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I'm your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, and today we are assembling something special. Something painful. The Curiosity Killed the Cat Nightmare Edition box. I'm scared. Box contains... oh, good lord. 10 models? 10 models? Maybe 10 models. A lot of models. Our lovely master is Catelyn Abernathy, a stand-in for Hamelin. And I don't remember what this... what... excuse me, this is the Dutiful son. He's the obedient Wretch. I didn't have to look that up or ask friends. Got Schrodinger's cat, which is alt for Nyx. 3 Ailuromaniacs, which are stolen? Stolen. And then more alley cats, which are stand-in for Malifaux. So there's a lot of models in this box. Anyways, let's look at the renders on the back. Catelyn is going to be very complicated considering she is covered in cats. The Dutiful son is probably going to be our simplest model, possibly. Schrodinger's cat, also relatively easy. And then the Ailuromaniacs look like they have a ton of details on them, as well as for alley cats. Just a lot of cats. There's a lot of cats in this box. Let's start assembling it. Here is our sprues for this nightmare of an assembly. See what I did there. I believe it's close to, if not exactly at, 107 bits, so this video is going to be long. Anyways, so the Ailuromaniacs are their own sprue. We'll do them later. I think we'll do everything on this sprue first, starting with Catelyn, then do the Dutiful son, Schrodinger's cat, and then the 4 alley cats, and then the 3 Ailuromaniacs. Here is Catelyn. We're starting with her. I have lost a bit, however, I have it right here on my cutting mat. It fell off inside of the box. So double check and make sure you didn't lose anything, because there's just a lot of bits and they're small, and those are the kinds of things that like to get knocked off in transit. So let's build her. Okay, quick overview of how we're going to assemble this, but we're going to be revisiting the sprue quite often, so you don't have to memorize it right now, because there is a lot of bits. So we'll grab the body like we almost always do. I'm getting sick of saying that. I'm going to have to figure out another way to say that. Then we'll add the head of the cat that's on her shoulder right there, as well as I don't know which head it is yet. Sorry. We'll figure that out later. As well as the tail, which I believe is this bit. Then we'll go ahead and do both of her arms. The arm holding the plate first, then the arm holding the teacup, the actual teacup. And then we'll move on to her head, which is this absurd amount of hair plus bits for the hat. I think this guy and this right here, as well as the leg of the cat that's in the hat. And then we'll assemble her legs. There's a bit that goes on the back. I think that's the one that goes on the back. Plus this part of the skirt and here, and the legs will go in on the other side of this bit, these legs specifically. And then the legs are wearing slippers, so the faces of the slippers, no way, they're cat heads. Big surprise. And after that, she's got 4 cats on her base, which is the rest of the bits. which is really surprising because she's a 30mm based model. But we'll figure it out. So, yeah, let's grab this piece, and let me go find that cat head. You see the name, orientation, I am relatively certain it's the chubby cat head right here. So this will be our second bit, followed by the tail of that cat, which is right here. So, a warning to everyone, this box is full of tiny pieces, which you probably realized now. But let's quickly remind ourselves how to handle tiny pieces. For starters, when you're clipping them out, try to grab the bit with the hand you're not using the snippers, and that'll keep it from going places. Also consider getting yourself some kind of bumper for the edge of your table. They make ones for, like, children, so they don't hurt themselves on, like, table edges, and that's a good way to keep stuff from, like, sliding off. And you could also use a box and clip your stuff into the box as well, which will keep it from bouncing around. You could also land the bottom of the box with something slightly softer so it doesn't bounce like a paper towel. Anyways, let's move on. We have Catelyn's body here, and we're going to add our cat right into that hole on her shoulder. Right there. Okay, that looks like the correct head. Seems nice. Head fits, and it's pointing in the correct way a head should. I initially said that we would do the cat tail next, but if you can see back here, there's no connection point because part of that is formed with the hair of Catelyn. So let's go ahead and, oops, not hit our camera. Let's do her left arm, which is the one holding the plate. Specifically over here being this one right here. Okay, I got it in without too much difficulty, but it's wiggly, and it's not going to give you an exact location, like, that's exactly how it's supposed to fit in the hole. Just gotta kind of bend it around, compare it to the render on the back of the box, and you should be good. This is very close on exactly how she's holding it on the render. So now we can move on to the right arm and the teacup. Alright, our right arm is going to be up here. You notice the pinky sticking out, proper form, and then the teacup is going to be down here. So to the arm first. Alright, first whoopsie of the day. I got it incorrectly, and you really want to make sure you close this gap right here, which should put it in the position it's supposed to be in. But you definitely want to do the right arm and the teacup. For the left arm, this thing was pretty much in my way, and the right arm shouldn't be in the way of assembling or putting in the left arm. So now we can do the teacup. That was difficult, to be perfectly honest. The big pain is trying to close this gap between the hand and the fingers, as well as the gap between the ring finger and the pinky finger. That's where having a stick to nudge things in correctly. Well, first, just make sure it's stuck on so it won't fall off without using pokey devices. And then to nudge it into place, so like if I had to close the gap between the ring finger and the pinky finger, I would just push up on the other end, as well as down on the fingers to sort of close that gap. And the thing that did the best work was I was looking for my tweezers and completely forgot I'm using them. I am holding them in my left hand, but I've got a backup pair. And what I ended up, like, really filling in that gap more than any sort of poking and prodding was squeezing right here on the knuckles of the finger and sort of the ridge, the thumb ridge of the hand. But yep, looks good. Really close to the render, if not exactly right. We're done with the arms, so yay for that. Well, let's do the hair. Excuse me, hair and hat. So this is her hair. This will go onto the back of her head. In fact, this is where the face will be. And then we'll do whatever this is between the hair and the majority of the hat. Once that's on, we can do the rest of the hat, which is here, followed by the haunch of the cat that is buried inside of that hat, which is one of these. I think it's this guy. I'll double check before confirming. And then once we're all good and done with that, we can finally do the tail like we thought step 2 was going to be. Alright, so this bit, this bit, this bit, probably this one, and then this guy. Alright, I've made a few mistakes. I'm going to go and bring them up now, so you're less likely to have gotten too far and not able to go back. First up, there I guess was a connection point here that I must have shaved off thinking it was flash. You can see where like the strap stops. however it looks like I'll be able to glue it on there. It just won't be as solid as it could have been. The other thing is that what I thought was the tail is in fact the tail of a different cat. And so the one I'm pretty sure we're going to need, let me turn this correctly, when we do attach the tail, I'd point out to was this guy. It's slightly bigger. So I apologize, you shouldn't have cut this one yet, hopefully not. Back to it. Her hair is in, you can see it's a good seam all the way around. So now we need the weird frizzly thing, this thing, which is going to go on top. Okay, here it is attached barely on her head. You can see the bow is almost, straight on with where the face is facing. But the top is the important part you want to see here. You can see that the connection point was two almost similarly sized squares, but not quite. The thicker opening is where you will actually plug this piece into the top of the head, and then the top of the hat will go over in this square that still hasn't been filled. But quick check on our seams. It's really just not even on her head. It's sitting on top of her poofy hair. Right, okay, top of the hat. Went in really easy. There we go. Seems good. So now we can do that cat leg right there, right up top. Right there. Okay, fits in just nice. Just poke it near the top or squeeze it with some tweezers to get it to sit flush. But cat's got both legs now, and we can be done with her head. Now let's go ahead and do the tail that's supposed to go in that hole. Again, apologize for getting it wrong. It's going to be this guy. Okay, there's the tail. And it not only connects to that hole that you saw on her back, but also there is a nice groove for it to fit into on her back. So it should have a really pretty good seam. Maybe just put a little more pressure on that without snapping an arm off. Okay, since that pocket I cut off the tooth for, we'll do it last, so we will be fiddling with the model less. And we'll move on to her feet. So you saw the grooves there. We'll go ahead and do her legs and add them to the main body. Leg here and leg here. And then we'll put this over the top of them, and this over the top of that, and then we'll do the fronts to her slippers. This top one is her right foot, and this is her left foot. And there's the right foot. It'll be splayed out a bit. Instead of pointing forward, let's do the left now. The left one is pointing a little more forward than the right. But let's get the first layer of our skirt on, which is going to be this piece. And there it is. Looks real weird right now, but I'm not sure if I can do anything about that gap. It looks better on the sides, though, and I'm not going to fiddle with it for ever. Could possibly rip it off and do some shaving if I really wanted to, though, just to make sure that's filled in more. But I believe most of it's going to be covered up by the rest of the skirt. So we'll do that next, which is this piece. Note you're going to need to do a lot of trimming to get rid of this connection point right here. This should be flat. And that took a bit of squeezing, and I could do some gap filling if I really wanted to. But that's on, and it looks pretty good. Kind of an odd angle to put it in. Alright, now let's do that pocket that I cut off the connection point right here for. A particular bit is going to be this guy. It's got like cat toys in it, I think. But let's look at the other side. You can see, yeah, there was supposed to be a connection point there that I cut off. But should still be able to glue on there without much hassle, because you can see all of this is still a connection point. Okay, here it is attached. Didn't take me too much to figure out exactly how it went in. The rest of the connection point was fit very well where it's supposed to go. Alright, now let's go ahead and finish off Catelyn herself with the heads of her slippers. They look exactly the same to me, and the connection points are also exactly the same, so I think they're interchangeable. I'll let you know if that's not the case. Alright, they look interchangeable, so here's the right foot. Using tweezers, we'll get it to squish into place pretty easily. Alright, so have the left one end too. This one I ended up cutting off the tooth that's attached to the foot. There's enough connection point on the bottom of the feet for the slippers that you don't really need it, and trying to force it onto the foot could possibly snap it. So that's what I ended up doing. Also, I guess correctly on the shoes, because they are just ever so slightly distinguishable between right and left, because you can see the ever so slight curve here, which is indicative of the inside of the foot. Yay me. Okay, we're done with Catelyn. Let's get on to the cats now. All right, let's start with the cat that is lying down on its side, because that was a bit that fell off, so we'll go ahead and use it first so we don't accidentally lose it or anything. So that bit was originally here, and it's just like a flattened profile of a cat. This one right here with the fluffy tail. We'll attach it to this piece, and then I believe the head is this one here. Piece 1, piece 2. Let's see a good seam on that one. And now, and there's the head at an interesting angle because the cat is lying on the ground. Let's move on to the next one. Let's next do the two-piece cat, which is going to be this body and this head, and that's it. I apologize, I accidentally assembled the two bits without telling you, but it looks good. Looks like a sleeping cat. I will say that this cat's head and the head of the cat prior to this are very, very similar, and I'm not entirely 100% sure that I got them mixed up. It's possible. I don't know, but I would think that both of them work probably. Okay, let's two down. Let's get done with the rest of them. Our next three-piece cat is going to be these two halves and this head over here. Cat half with the tail, fine with the cat half that doesn't have the tail, and add the head. And we have ourselves our third cat for the base. Here I was saying we start with the cat that had the bit off the sprue, or out of fear of losing it, and yet we completely forgot. I completely forgot about that tail that I clipped off too early, which is going to be on this cat, so like one of the last bits. In fact, we'll make it the last bit. So we've got the body here, then we'll add the right arm and the left arm, and then that tail. Body, add in our right arm, and we've added our left arm on. Now, let's do that tail. And there's the tail. Note that there is this flat connection pointy part on the bottom of it, just to indicate what part is the bottom, because they'll be sitting on the ground. I think that's everything. Let's go ahead and base Catelyn. Catelyn Abernathy is done. This was a very, very difficult model. Lots of tiny parts, lots of parts you wasn't sure where to put them, and hard to get in the proper place. The instructions are really, really helpful online for the most part. Just don't lose anything. Try hardest to keep track of bits, only clip out what you need, and be cautious. Hardest parts. The teacup in the hand was pretty hard. Figuring out which head went where on the cats. That one piece I removed the connection point for. And figuring out the skirt was also a bit of a difficulty. So a lot of things were difficult. But I got it done, and she looks great. Now, something of note. The four cats on the base, they're nice, they look good. I put them in front of her, even though it looks like in the render they are behind her. And I think it's better this way, but you can do it however you like. But also, you don't have to put them on the base at all with her. They will function very well as additional alley cats, because you only technically have 4 in the box, and you can field up to 12. So having 4 more is probably a good idea if you want to go about that. But also, if you want a pretty base filled with cats, do it this way. Okay, let's move on. Our totem is the Dutiful Son, and I'm going to call him Wayne. He looks like a Wayne to me. So he's Wayne now. For Wayne, I'm going to grab the two parts of the torso, mostly the body. Then we'll add the right arm, the left arm, do the head, tail, both feet, the leash coming off of the body, and the cat attached to the leash. I think it's a leash. Anyway, it's going to be easier than the last one, thankfully. The back half of the torso, notice that nice plug, which is going to go into this top hole. Here they are combined, got some nice big holes, which is going to be filled in with the arms. Let's do the right arm first, which is the one sitting in his pocket. And that looks real good. Now let's do the left arm. The leash that's in his hand will connect to the sort of knee right here, so keep that in mind. But seems like real good, so let's add the head next. And there's his head. Doesn't he look happy, folks? Let's do the tail next. That also went easy. This is so disgustingly easier than the previous model. Oh my god. Alright, let's work on the feet. Grab the sprue. The one with the chunk taken out of it is our left foot, or this net edge here. And then this will be our right foot. So actually we'll go and start with the right foot. There's the right foot, slowly pointed outwards, but little to no seam. Okay, let's do the left foot now. And our left foot also going in easy. So let's get to the leash, which is going to attach here and onto another cat body. My leash snapped when I was snipping it off the sprue, and that's such a clean break, it almost looked like it was intentional, but be very careful while snipping this. I'm going to go ahead and attach this where it goes to on the Dutiful son, and then I'll combine the other half with the cat body, and then we will put them together while we're putting them on the base. There it is, right along there. Okay, let's do the cat. Here's our cat body, and there's the attached head. Just make sure the leg is aligned with the, I guess, the thigh right here. Looks like a cat cleaning itself. Okay, let's get the two of them on a base. Wayne, the Dutiful son, is done. Hardest part was the leash. It still would have been the hardest part even if I didn't break it. That being said, I think you should attach the leash and then attach him to the base and then glue the cat body onto the base and the head part of the leash. I wouldn't leave it hanging out. I would leave that leash sort of floating as little as possible. Yeah, that is the only hard part. It looks good, and he's done. Let's move on to some minions. No, Nex is next. And of course, by Nex, I mean Nex, and by Nex, I mean Schrodinger's cat. This one's going to be slightly difficult, just on account of particular model bit order, but still nothing compared to Catelyn. Okay. So, going by the instructions, we grab this guy, and then we immediately add whatever this is. It might be intestines, it might be... It's something. And this connect thing connects right deep in here. And once that we're done, we're going to do this piece, which I have no freaking idea what it is. Maybe the tail, which will go on its back. It'll connect here, I think. At least possibly there. And there's another spot on the back side. I believe right there. And then after that, we can kind of just do the rest of the bit. We'll do both of the back legs, or the back leg, front leg, neck, other front leg, head, top of the head, and then there's... I don't know what this bit is yet. We'll figure it out as we go along. And once all of those are done, then we will assemble the box independent of Schrodinger's cat, and then we'll just attach Schrodinger's cat to the box. Okay? Alright. So let's grab this piece and then this piece. Okay, here's our first piece, holding it like we'd shown in the instructions. And our little tubey intestine thing is going to connect right in here and sort of lap over the belly. The part that will connect into the side is right there. Okay, here it is in. I think that looks pretty good. And this is what it looks like on the other side. Really can't do anything about that gap now, but I don't think you're really going to be able to see it. And the fact that I got it in was good enough for me. It's a tight fit. It's going to kind of need to snap in there, and the best way I can do to get it in there is I made sure that this was lined up first, and then I just rotated it. Excuse me, counterclockwise until it just sort of popped into place, and then it just took a little bit more nudging to get that where it is now. Okay, so our next piece is going to be this piece right here. Okay, this is also slightly complicated instructions, so this peg right there is going to go right in there. You can see that sort of unique connection point shape lines up with that right there. The other side of it, give me a second while I find my dropped bit, is going to connect right up here. So there'll still be like a little notch in here that won't be covered up. I think that might be what part of the leg. We'll see. But yeah, let me attach it now. Okay, there it is attached. You can see it's nice and snug inside there. And also, I was kind of wrong on how it's supposed to sit. There's no real gap you can just see. A nice smooth line, which will be where we attach the back left leg. Why don't we start with that? Our next few steps, I'm assuming, is going to be the back left leg, followed by whatever this wispy thing is, which is attached to the side right next to the back right leg. Some organs, the front left leg, which will enclose the organs, so definitely got to do the organs first, and the front right leg. After that, the neck, the head, and then the top of the head. Back left leg goes in fine, easy enough to do. Now the wispy ghostliness that's attached right in there next. Okay, this is the angle you're looking for. Just kind of sweeping back, almost touching the tail, but not quite. Now let's do the organs. Pretty easy. There's only one way they're going to fit in there correctly, and this is it. So now we can do the left front leg, which will be covering this up with ribs. There we go. Delicious, delicious ribs. And I just realized that this whole thing is the cat's tail going around and then through it out the other side. I'm blind. Or dumb. Both. Okay, let's do the front right leg now, if I can focus. Actually, we might not do that. That might be attached to the neck. Let's do the neck first, the one with the bell on it. I apologize, I was wrong. The connection point is right here, just a little bit hidden. So let's add it now. And there we go. Now we've got a full connection point for the neck. Neck goes on just fine. Now let's do the big chunk of the head, completely covering up that neck. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And now just add the top of the head and we're done with the body. He's happy. Yeah, let's work on the box. Here are our remaining bits, the base of the box, and then the four sides. It's going to be easier to explain which part is which if we flip it over, though. You can see the results of Schrodinger's experiment here. This is our base. We'll grab that first. Then we can do, we'll do the one with the flap, because that's arguably the most obvious, and that's going to go along this side. If we're looking at the model straight on, then it'll be on our left, right here. Next is, we'll do the one that's kind of, I guess, the front of the box that the cat is stepping over. It's this one with the two deep cuts in it. So it'll go along here. Next is the side without any cuts in it, which will be on our right. So again, if we're looking at it, it'll be over here. And then the one with the two more shallow notches in it, which will be sort of the back. It'll go back here. Okay? So grab this piece, and then this piece. This piece, this piece, this piece. And our base. Now let's add the side with the fold. There we go. Check our base to make sure it's flush. Now let's do the side with the two deep tears in it. Okay, that's one in. Let's double check our base as well as make sure to glue it to the other side as well as the base. So now let's do our side with no tears in it. There we go, and I'm just now noticing that that is also a fold off the top of the box. Yep, looks good. Now let's do our last side. And all four sides are in. Looks good. Now our cat's back leg is going to glue right in there. You can see the toes of the foot. You go ahead and glue the box to the base, and then the cat to the box and the base. Make sure the box is towards the back of the base, and that you have it pointed correctly with the toes. Now add the cat. And there he is. Let's review. Schrodinger's cat is all done. Hardest part was really those first initial pieces, getting them to fit in correctly, the intestine and the larger part of the tail, as well as getting him attached to the box and the base at the same time. Everything else was relatively simple, so definitely not the hardest thing in this box. Okay, let's move on to some minions. Alright, I was an idiot and did not realize that the Ailuromaniacs are actually the totems, not the Dutiful Son, so whoops. Anyways, we'll do these guys before the cats. Got 3 models here, A, B, and C. We'll just call them 1, 2, 3 because that's easier for me. Just a crap load of bits. This is going to be interesting. Alright, anyways, Ailuromaniac 1. We'll start with the body. Do both the legs and the back of the skirt. Do everything but, I think, the arms and the cat. So the face, the hair, the bow, and then we'll do one of the arms. Combine all the pieces of the cat, add the cat on, and then the other arm. Okay? I'll grab this piece first. This one, this one, this one. So body, our right leg is going to fit right here and kind of wrap around the side to be behind this piece. We'll fit in cleanly. I'll just take a little bit of wiggling to sort of get it into place. It's an awkward fit, I'll admit that. That's what it looks like from the back side. So now let's do our left leg from this view. Okay, there's the left leg. It looks better from the front. Okay, now let's finish up the skirt. Okay, the legs are fully enclosed now. Looks good. Let's work on her face now. Okay, our next few bits are going to be the face over here, then the hair, which goes on the face bit, and then this bow, which I'm not entirely sure what's going to go yet, but it'll probably be obvious once we get the other 2 bits in. Your face is going to go right here in the face space. There's the face. Easy enough. Now do the hair in that hole on the head. Okay, and our bow is gonna fit right here in this connection spot in the head. There we go, and you can see the ribbon right there's on that side. So the head is all done. Alright, I'm changing up how I think I'm wanting to assemble the last bits of this model. Something I'd already clipped the bits out, so I'm going to have to try and give you good directions with the bits I have in hand as opposed to what they look like on the sprue. I'm sorry. Right now, I think the easiest way of doing this is to build the entire body of the cat first, attach both arms to the cat, and then glue the entire thing onto the model. And that is because her arm connection points aren't that solid compared to the nice deep slots on the cat body. So I think that's going to be a better guide for how the arms are actually supposed to position versus putting the arms on and then attaching the cat, or one arm full cat and then the other arm. So let's start with the cat. So here's one half of the body. Here is 2 halves of the body. Now let's add the head. And head goes on just fine. So as far as the arms are concerned, you can see in the connection point that there's a divot for the left hand, and there's not a divot for the right hand. So that's how you can identify which is which without me pointing to them on the sprue, because I already clipped them out. So let's go ahead and add the left hand first. There we go. It also includes the cat's leg, because I should have mentioned that. Throwing your bit on the ground is completely optional, but now let's do our right hand. Another easy fit which includes the cat's leg. Okay, we should just be able to jam the arms on to the body now. And there we go. Didn't take a whole ton of finagling to get those arms on. The right arm connects at the end of the upper arm, but also there is slight connection point sort of on the sleeve. So there's a point where you can cement it, as well as the cat's butt is another point of cementing if you want to do that. But yeah, all done. That was Baser. Ailuromaniac number 1 is done. We're going to call her Catherine. The hardest part was getting the feet situated in the body, and the hair bow is kind of hard. I guess the difficulty would be me figuring out how the order of assembly, but I wouldn't really consider that a difficulty sort of situation. So yeah, those were the problems. Let's move on to our next one. Our second Ailuromaniac is going to be easier, simpler, and that's a good thing. We'll grab the whole body, add both the feet to it, and then the other half of the skirt. We'll do the bow on her back. You can see that groove right there. And do the face and hair. Wait, we've got arms too, so I guess we'll do left arm, right arm first, and then face and hair. Yeah. Once her entire body is done, the cat is independent, so we'll do the 2 halves of the body and the head. We'll add to the base along with the Ailuromaniac and call her good. So these 2, 3, 4 pieces first. Keep in mind while you're cleaning off your bits, the bump here needs to be there. That is a tooth for a connection point for the right arm. Don't shave it off. It looks like there's not really a good way to connect the left foot to just this 1/2 of the model, so let's add the other part of the skirt first and then jam the feet underneath. Skirt is added. Now we look at the feet holes. The left foot is going to be the foot with the shorter peg, and the right foot is going to be the foot with the longer peg. So let's add our left foot. It's a little unstable, but this looks like it fits the render pretty well. And you can always adjust it slightly after you put the right foot in, because that one should be a lot more solid. And then you can adjust the left foot to have her better planted on the ground. So let's do the right foot now. There's our right foot, and now you can just adjust the left one by setting her down on a flat surface and then nudging that left foot into place. It's still a little unsolidified, so I'm going to let that cure. But we will move on to her arms now. Forgotten about the bow, so we'll do the bow next, actually, and then the right arm, the left arm, the head, and then the hair. In that order. Our bow is going to fit in this groove on her back and butt. There's the bow, looking not unlike a cat tail. Let's do the right arm next. Well, I told you not to shave off that nub on the shoulder. You might need to trim it down a little bit to get the arm to fit on there correctly. I ended up just being able to smoosh it in there good enough that I'd call it good. But yes, even if you do cut it off, it still should be able to fit on there fairly well. Just make sure you get the angle right, compare it to the render on the back of the box. Let's do the left arm now. Left arm is, you're just going to kind of have to guess on that one. I again just tried to match the render, ended up nudging it closer towards her leg as opposed to how I originally had it sticking out. Yeah, just check the render, go off of that. Now let's add our head. Yeah. The neck of her head fits nicely into that groove. Just make sure it's pushed up against the back of the collar, and you're good. Now let's add the hair, which is going to be probably where this big connection point is. The neck is too thin of a connection point, so I went ahead and pulled the head off before adding the hair, because it's going to take some force to get it on there, and I still have a relatively big seam. I might have to shave it down on the inside, because I thought I shaved it well enough. But again, there's a pretty big seam. At least now you know how it's supposed to fit on the head. Kind of act like it's... Don't put it on from the side. That's going to be an awkward way of doing it. Slide it down from the top. Okay, now add the head to the body. Right, the Ailuromaniac herself is done, but we still need to assemble ourselves a cat. Cat body, cat head. Half the body with the tail, other half the body without the tail. Seam looks good. Now add the head, and we have one full cat. Put the cat and the Ailuromaniac on a base. Ailuromaniac number 2 is done. We're going to call this one Kathleen. The hardest part was the left foot. Left foot wasn't terribly easy, and sort of figuring out how the hair piece goes with the rest of the head. Oh, and the arms. The dainty, dainty arms, and getting them pointed in the right direction. So a decent amount of difficulty there. Okay, let's move on. For our last Ailuromaniac, we will grab the body, do the smaller piece of the skirt and the foot before adding the bigger part of the skirt, which should enclose it, and do the rest. Do the whole of her lower body, followed by the ribbon tail thing, which goes back here. Left arm, right arm, head, hair, and then cat on her head. Alright, start with this piece, then this piece, and then this piece, our first four. Alright, here's a body. That first smaller piece of the skirt is going to go right along this connection point. Let's bring her closer. Right here, it's kind of got a pokey end that is going to be lying flat on the ground and going this way. Is a piece of the skirt and her foot. I didn't notice the shoe in there until just now. Anyways, let's do the standalone foot now. Don't try and make it go completely flat up against the side of the skirt. There should be this space here. It'll of course lie flat on the ground with the other foot and the rest of the skirt. That's how you know it's in there right. Now let's do the rest of the skirt, the big piece. And the skirt's all done now. Oops. So let's go ahead and do the ribbon on the back now. There is our ribbon slash tail. Let's look at the arms again. Okay, final order. We have our left arm, then our right arm. Then we will not attach the head to the body yet because we learned our lesson from the last one. So we'll clip the head out, add the hair onto the head, the cat onto the hair, and then glue that entire thing onto the body. Okay, let's start with the left arm. It's holding into place better than I was expecting it to, but look at the hand position. That's what you're going to want her to be doing, otherwise the connection point's going to look a little weird. But effectively, the right hand's going to be doing the same thing, where the thumbs are like right next to each other, pointed straight out, and the fingers are going outwards. So yeah, let's do that right arm now. Tweezers are a lifesaver. That's the hand position you're looking at, or at least roughly that. I have no guarantee that's exactly correct, but it pretty much matches the render. The connection up in the shoulders looks good, and the hands are both touching the ground. And I managed to nudge that out of place because I dropped the mini. I'll get that fixed, but still. We're done with the body for now. Let's go ahead and grab the head. Here's the head now. Just jam the hair on top. It took me forever to figure out how this was oriented until I actually bothered to look at the connection points and then just mushed them together in my brain. Yeah, the hair's going down the side of the face. It's not going, down her back like you normally see in hair. So that's how it's going to look. Our cat now fits up top here. It is just perched on her head. Quick look at our seam. Looking good. So let's just slap the head onto the body now. Okay, we're all done. Base. Ailuromaniac number 3 is done. We're going to call her Katya. Hardest parts were the arms. And I guess figuring out how the hair worked on the head. I would consider this one probably the easiest. It's really the arms were the issue. Oh, I completely forgot about the neck on Ailuromaniac 2. That was also a hard part. Necks hard. Necks are hard. Okay. But we're done with them, and now we can just move on to the kitties. Hooray. The back of the box has deceived me, and therefore it's deceived you. It says there are 4 alley cats in the box, but the instructions online have 7 cats, and there are technically 8 on the sprue, but one of the 7 is 2 cats in one that are connected to each other. So we're going to go ahead and make 7 different cats on bases, because if you're actually using this box to play as Hamelin, you want up to the maximum amount of cats / rats. And if you have 7, then you can use potentially the 3 that are in Catelyn's base, make you 11, which is almost the max. Which is good. So we'll just go in the order they have in the instructions online. Well, we'll start with the 2 cats stacked on top of each other. That'll be the big fat kitty base body here, and the big fat kitty face. as well as the skinny cat's front half, back half, and singular leg. After that, there's a lower jaw here somewhere. I think it's this one, which will attach to here. This is actually the top of a skull, and finishing off with this bow. So a relatively complicated one, but the rest are a lot easier. Anyways, let's grab this piece and add the head first. Here's the body, and the head is actually going to go right in here. Here is the head attached. Check your base. I'll do a little bit of gap filling to fix that. But anyways, I think we should finish off the bottom part. So let's go ahead and grab that jaw before we implement the thinner cat. And that's going to be this bit. You can sort of see the teeth here. Try to keep changing the order on you, but first off, the piece I pointed out, I got it upside down. I pointed to the wrong side that was going to connect to the skull, but also we should probably glue it to this bone here before we add it to the cat base with the partial skull. So cut this one out, and then I'll show you how it fits in. Alright, this is how it's supposed to go. Let me explain it as best I can. We're looking at the bottom of the two pieces. It'll be facing like this when it's actually attached to the rest of the model. So the bone, one end is more bulbous than the other. The end that is more bulbous is the one that's actually going to attach to this bottom part of the skull. Now if you look, the camera can focus a bit, you'll see that it fits in pretty nicely. There is a very obvious groove on the underside of this bit that shows you where the bone is supposed to go in. And then if you look at the end, the nubs of the bone fit nicely with the grooves of the piece above. So from the top down, it looks like this. Now we can add it to the base. And by base, I mean the rest of the model. Sorry. So here's a lovely, grumpy, big kitty. The skull next to him with a really wide jaw for some reason. Here's the underside. See how the bone's connected in relation to the body of the cat, as well as the back. I think if I give you enough angles, you'll have a good idea of how the bone's supposed to go on there. Okay, now let's build our skinny cat. We have his front here, his back half here, and then his leg. Here's the front of our skinny cat. We're going to turn him around and add the body. The attached body, make sure that the seam looks okay on both sides of him, because it's easy to squish it too far one way or the other. Okay, let's do the back leg now. Back leg is good. Seam looks fine. Now let's add him to our base cat. I'm going to say for adding him onto this cat and skull, just do your best, try to match the render. I know the front paws go into this little notch right here, right behind his right ear, and the back left leg is going to be sitting on top of the skull. The back left leg is going to be somewhere around here on the cat body. I don't really see a connection point. So again, just put them on, do your best, make sure the feet are all touching something. I'm going to call that good. All of the paws are touching something. Yep, let's put them on a base. This video is already super long, so I'm not going to do individual reviews of all the different alley cats. That first one is the most complicated. I'm relatively certain of that. That one should be simpler. So we'll move on to cat 2, which is going to be a slightly thicker cat sitting down. Here's one part. No, here's one part of the body. And then, yeah, actually this is the other part. There's another cat that is sitting down, and these are the two pieces, and you know that's the one that's sitting down because you can see this groove right here where its tail is supposed to be, whereas on this one the tail is just molded into part of the body. And then as far as the head goes, it's this one where the peg is slightly askew, so the cat's head is tilted. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Onto a base. Our next cat, cat 3, is definitely a cat and nothing else disguised as a cat. We've got a body, 2 front legs, a set of back legs, and a head up here. This will be the front left leg, this will be the front right leg. There's our tiny body. There's the front left leg. Oops. Front right leg has a peg that fits into a hole on the shoulder. And our back legs. Let's finish with the head. And head goes on just fine, too. Alright, base them. The fourth cat is going to be the other one that is sitting down, so we have two halves of a body, plus a tail there, and then the head over here is the one we're looking for. It's almost rabbit-like. The left side of the body, right side of the body, you see that groove where the tail is going to go, and there's the tail, reference the bottom. See, it lines up nicely. There is that flat part of the tail. We'll let you know that that is going to be sitting on the ground. Should give you a good enough guide as to how it's supposed to go into the body. So let's add our head and call him this one good. It takes a little bit of squeezing, but it'll go in there. And we've got our fourth cat done. Base him. Found only enough bases in the box for 4 alley cats, but as I mentioned before, definitely stretch them out to 7 to give yourself more cats, rats, crats. Hopefully this isn't your first box, so you've got a few spare bases lying around. Let's keep going. We have cat number 5, the one that is lying down on its side, so this is our body. We'll go ahead and add the missing leg there. Do the ribs that's kind of it's sitting on, they'll go right there, and finish off with the head, which I believe is this one. Well, no, not that one. Or sometimes I can't see things too terribly well on the left side of my screen. That's just how my phone is. This is the head that we're actually going to use. So cut out the body, leg, ribs, head. Body, leg. Now we'll do the ribs. View from the bottom. This is how the ribs look. Now add the head. More completed cat. Let's get them on base. Down to our last 2 cats, and they're both pretty easy. First one, our cat number 6, technically. 3 pieces. Standing body 1, standing body 2, and this head. For the half the body with the tail, you're going to spend a little time gouging out and cleaning up that neck hole, because that's where it was connected to the sprue, and you got to make sure the cat head can actually go inside that hole. So give it a little love. Now add the second half of the body. Very cat-like. Seam is good. Now let's add the head. And there's our head. It's all done. Base this one. Our last alley cat. Only 2 pieces. A body and a head. 1 head. Heckin' love. Put them on a base. Our 7 alley cats are done. And most of the difficulty was in the first one. This guy right here. Because lots of parts. 2 cats. Instructions can only do so much. The Chihuahua disguised as a cat was also slightly difficult just because of the really tiny limbs. Yep, those were the pain points. Most of them were simple. Fairly easy to put together. Your biggest concern really, though, is small parts and making sure you don't lose them. Okay, as far as naming goes, we have Rocket Launcher, Crunchwrap Supreme, Jorts, Senior Salami, Arson, Nacho, Larceny, and, oh good god, Jasper Darlington Higgins V. Now you're thinking, Doug, you named all these cats, but there's a bunch of other cats in the game. Well, Major, Jonesy, Cleo, Cooper, Kai, Kyo, Iris, Mirage, Boots, and Stanley. Now we can review the whole thing. The Curiosity Killed the Cat box is done. One of, if not the most hardest boxes in all of Malifaux. It was quite difficult. I would probably say it is actually harder than the Wild Ones, but that might just be recency bias. Yeah, a ton of small pieces, and very many of them, with very dainty, delicate characters. This is not for the faint of heart, But if you follow these instructions, it should be a lot more bearable. I apologize in advance for having to go through this, but in all fairness, it is a nightmare box, and you don't need it to play Hamelin. But it is darn pretty, at least. You got to admit that. Yeah. If you need me to say the hardest part, it was still Catelyn, so this video was front-ended with the most difficult part. The Ailuromaniacs were also kind of difficult just because very small features, hard to get them to stay in place. But you've seen all this till now, you know what to expect. Best of luck. Anyways, I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Have a good night.